Welcome guys, more big balance news coming up. So if you missed it earlier in the week, you might not be aware, but there is a big underwater balance mix-up, overhaul, restructure that's coming. There'll be a link in the description to that if you guys want to check it out. Well, interestingly, shortly after that post went up on the official website, we have seen on the forums another interesting post revealing more stuff coming with the May 8th balance. And that is to do with this specialization here. That is the Deadeye. So, tiny little bit of background here for those of you who don't know. The Deadeye is the Thief Elite specialization that was released just recently with the Path of Fire expansion. It is themed around steady, stationary, single target ranged damage through the rifle. It's basically, people for years wanted to be able to play a thief that felt like a sniper, and well, they decided to give people that. The main mechanic that you unlock here is first it changes steel to mark, which is basically the same as steel, except you gain different items that provide different stuff, and it's ranged, it won't teleport you. It's at 1500 range instead of, what's steel at, 900, 1200? But, yeah, so basically, once you mark someone, you gain a new mechanic called Malice. You can see it written there on the tooltip. Malice builds up through these little dots you can see here. You can trait to deepen your Malice pool. So you start with, what, like 5, and then you can put it all the way up to 7, like so. And you can get a lot more dots. And the more Malice you have, the more damage you do. So the idea behind Malice at its heart is that what the devs wanted to do was provide a way for single target bursty damage and potentially from stealth too. This is a specialization that matches itself with stealth in numerous ways. For example, the elite skill stealths you and rips revealed. It's the only way to get revealed off of yourself in the game. They want you to be able to do that, but in the world of counterplay, they don't want it to come from nothing. They realize how horrible it would feel in PvP or World versus World to just be a player wandering around doing their own thing, and then from stealth, some massive burst blows you up. So they invented this idea of Malice, which is that in order to be able to land that killer sniper shot, first you're going to want to mark someone, and they'll know that they've been marked. Can you see that orange orb over this scarab's head? He knows he's been marked, and so he can anticipate that a burst might be coming, and he can do things to try and defend himself, such as, you know, dodging at the perfect moment if he can guess if you're doing it from stealth, or giving himself protection, other kind of mitigation, things like that. So that's what Malice is really. It ramps your damage after a period of time, and I really do believe it was implemented because of the whole counterplay thing. The thing is, Malice has always been a little bit weird. Like, what gets you Malice? Some things build Malice quicker, what benefits you get from it, and the way that the traits interact with it, I guess the devs felt wasn't as good as it could be. Now, I have to be honest, I find this quite interesting because Deadeye is not what I would have put on my list for a big elite specialization shakeup. I think that there are other Path of Fire elite specializations that could use that quality of life a lot more. For example, Renegade, I think most people would agree, really wants that quality of life. And if anything, though Deadeye gameplay isn't necessarily the most fun for random PvE experiences because it's very stationary, it's kind of slow, and while its raid efficacy is in question, it's still a really good elite specialization for PvP, for World versus World, for people that want this kind of gameplay, even if it is slightly less efficient than charging around, you know, with pistols. The rifle is still a really cool weapon, and Deadeye in general, I really like. It's a little bit clunky, a little bit unintuitive, but did we need a big overhaul? Well, I guess the devs felt that we did. So with all of that preamble out of the way, let's now go to the blog post that went up just a few days ago. This is a message from Robert G. So Robert G, one of the balance devs, he was responsible for several of the Path of Fire ones. And yeah, it's a post called An Eye on the Deadeye. I'll read this out to you guys, and then we'll see what we think. So they say, and I'm going to have to get myself safe here from all of these scarabs that are going to be charging me forever. So let's just run over this way. Do I have a short bow on? I do. Cool. Right, so he says, hello to all the sneaky thieves out there. I'm unstealthing today to reveal details of the upcoming changes to the Deadeye profession. In a previous update, we've increased the damage of all the rifle skills to put Deadeye in a good spot from a DPS perspective. So this update is focused more around improving gameplay patterns and mechanics. And that is true. There was some pretty significant damage buffs recently. If you watched Balance with Boots, you'll know all about those already. They say this: the main areas we're looking to address for the Deadeye are these. They got 3 points. 1, Malice complexity. Malice gain rules are obscure, and they don't allow much interaction from the Deadeye, they say. Number 2, rifle flexibility. that rifle optimal damage combos are bland and the weapon lacks adaptability. And thirdly, they say trait synergies. Minor traits are fighting with each other, and there aren't strong choices at some tiers. So I actually disagree quite a lot on the rifle flexibility thing. I kind of don't want to see it get too much flexibility, to be real, because, like, it's supposed to provide that distinct experience of perching down and sniping and blowing people up, and it's supposed to be kind of that slower, more patient playstyle. I'm scared that rifle loses too much of its identity in a hunt for efficacy, and that's what's mostly on my mind as we go forward. But hey, let's listen. So, the Mysteries of Malice. They say, we designed Malice as a gating mechanic that would act as a way for Deadeye to gain increasing damage threat the longer they were in combat with their mark. This system was built to allow for very high damage attacks with enough warning to the victim that there would be room for counterplay. However, while we feel that the current system is effective at these goals, it's also confusing. It's difficult to understand how much of a benefit you get from attacking your mark, and to calculate when your next Malice gain will occur. There are also no rules for which skills scale on Malice. For instance, Binding Shadow and Shadow Flare both scale on Malice amounts, but Shadow Gust does not. So coming back to the game here, they're talking about utilities with this, right? And it's true on the rifle as well. This skill here, Death's Judgment. Basically, as you build Malice, you get global damage buff, but some skills get even more. So Death's Judgment, if you look at the tooltip there, it actually says it does a whopping 20% higher damage per stack for each bit of Malice you have. Not everything has that, though. Death's Judgment has it, but like the skill 2 doesn't have it. Some utilities have it, but others don't. And I guess they don't like that. In order to add more interactivity to Malice, we are changing the way Malice is gained. Malice no longer will build over time, but instead will be gained through dealing damage with initiative skills. So, here are the specifics on how it will work. This really is a very big change, guys. Number 1, they say any skill that spends initiative and deals strike damage to your mark will generate 1 Malice. Okay, so you have to be able to do a packet of damage with your skills. That means basically, in layman's terms, no auto attacks because they don't spend initiative, and no skills that have no flat damage at all. So Infiltrator's Arrow here, I can cast this on an enemy and I'll blind the enemy. I'll blind this fly by doing that, but I don't actually do any damage. So this won't give me Malice, but Cluster Bombs will. Okay, now you might think, oh, but Cluster Bomb has lots of multiple packets in that one skill. What about that? Well, they go on and they say, also, if any skill critical hits, you gain an additional Malice. So that's good. But they say this, any single skill can gain a maximum of 2 Malice from a single use. A skill that hits multiple times can generate 1 Malice from a normal hit and 1 additional Malice from a later critical, but it cannot generate more than 2 Malice. So, in layman's terms, guys, you will get a maximum of 2 Malice from critting someone per skill. If I cluster bomb this fly, I just crit him like 3 times, right? All at once there. That still would only give me 2 Malice. One just because I hit him, the other because I scored a crit. It's not individual packets, it's based on the skill. That's kind of interesting from an engine standpoint. I wonder how many other places they've used that in the game. But yeah, they're going on. They say, so what does Malice actually get us? Well, Malice no longer grants 3% increased damage per stack. So that baseline just, I'm deadlier because I have Malice, is gone now. They say, instead, the bonus has been rolled into traits. Then they say, Malice scaling functionality is now unique to stealth attacks. More on that in the next section. Alright, so we get Malice differently now. That is obviously a lot clearer how that's going to be working. That should make sense to more people. But they've completely just eliminated what Malice gets for us. We mark our target, we hit them to build Malice, but what does it do now? Well, we will see. So they say, in short, Malice is now gained through attacking. If you hit your mark, you gain Malice. If you fail to hit, you don't gain Malice. Investing in precision can increase your rate of Malice gain, precision increasing your crit chance, remember guys. We feel that this system is more engaging and easier to understand while also preserving the initial goal of requiring ramp up time to gain Malice. So here's another interesting thing that was kind of sucky from a counterplay perspective with the old version, or the current one you see in this video here. In theory, I could mark this fly, and I'm gaining Malice now. If you look at my user interface, they're slowly building up. I'm gaining Malice, I'm gaining Malice. And for the rest of the time, I can be hiding in stealth like this and still gain Malice. Well, under the new system, I'll have to continuously attack, which means I can't hide in stealth. I'll get revealed. So counterplay opportunity is even more open now under their new idea of how you build Malice up, okay? So the next big section, you're wondering what do we spend Malice on now? Here's what they say. Strike from the shadows. Stealth attacks will consume all your current Malice when striking your mark to grant bonus effects based on the amount of Malice consumed. The actual bonus per consumed Malice differs per skill, but let's just use sword stealth as an example. So just remember, guys, a stealth attack is across the entirety of the thief profession. Every single auto attack has a different type of auto attack if you are stealthed. So if you look at my skill 1 here, it's trick shot, which is just a bouncing projectile. But if I stealth here with blinding powder, it just flipped to something else. It's now surprise shot, which immobilizes, has a different effect. Every single thief weapons has that. The rifle for the Deadeye does, the staff for the Daredevil does. And what that means is all the stealth attacks are getting updates, essentially. Their example in the blog post is going to be on sword. So let me equip a sword for you all to see. Let's equip my fiery dragon sword. So the default one in-game right now is tactical strike. And what it means is if we attack from stealth, we blind our foe, and we daze them if we attack them from behind at the same time. So that's currently what tactical strike does. But after this update, it's going to be all new and improved and different. So malicious tactical strike is what it will become. And it's this. If this attack hits your mark, it will consume all of your Malice to regenerate endurance for each Malice consumed. That's a really good combo. You can see that they've paired that thematically with the sword, because sword is really known for thieves as a very evasive weapon. It's very flighty with the 2 that you can dart in and out with your ports, right? But you're likely to have, if you're SD, lots of evades going on already, right? So sword thieves tend to be very evade reliant. They'll dodge. Well, now if you're a sword Deadeye, which, do we see many sword Deadeyes in the game right now? Not many, necessarily. So there's new build craft, right? If you become a sword Deadeye, you can use malicious tactical strike to get all your endurance back. So it fits the style of the weapon, which is great. So that's just the sword. They go on to say this. Each stealth attack has a different bonus. Typed on the skill, it is skills primarily focused around damage, such as Backstab, will consume Malice for bonus damage, whereas skills focused around condition damage, such as Sneak Attack, will consume Malice for bonus condition effects. Tactical Strike, on the other hand, consumes Malice to gain an advantage over your enemy via endurance gain. So, that's pretty cool, guys. That means that as a Deadeye, when this patch goes through, you're going to have a whole load of new toys to play with and different styles of weapons that combo with the Deadeye spec. So, yeah, Backstab. We're all familiar with Backstab. It's a huge, meaty hit. You strike someone from behind. Look at that base damage on that. 2,196, right? Before we crit, before any of that stuff. It's a huge hit. And now, basically, Backstabs will function like the rifle's snipe shot right now, Death's Judgement. So this could be a reintroduction to big, meaty Backstab gameplay, which we haven't seen in enormous abundance. I mean, it does see people flirt around. It is used in smaller spades. We haven't seen an incredible focus, though, for a while now. But that's going to open up for the Deadeyes now. You'll be able to fight, gain Malice, and then eventually, once you get that max Malice, but remember, your enemy's going to be tipped off at that moment, so they'll know it's coming. But you get the max Malice, you stealth, you go for that really meaty Backstab. That's going to be brilliant, right? So they don't give us examples for every single one. They say that the pistol main hand one, here, this one, Sneak Attack, that currently inflicts bleeds, so it's Condi oriented. So the Malice consuming one is going to be also condition focused. It's a bit of a weird matchup for the pistol, because pistol is largely all flat damage oriented. Like, people use unload. So, I mean, you can run pistol on some Condi builds, so we'll see. It'll be interesting to see Condi pistol Deadeyes running around now instead of just flat damage ones. But that'll be kind of cool, and I guess we're just left to speculate about what the other weapons might be, or exactly how they scale, exactly what's going on. They will give us more details on rifle, at least. So, they go on to say, we decided to tie Malice consumption specifically to stealth for a few reasons. And this is, if there's been any questioning in the community of this update, it's based on this. Some Deadeyes are like, I don't like stealthing, but I like Deadeye, which is weird because Deadeye is absolutely stealth-oriented. So the devs are justifying it in this way. They say this. First, we felt that stealth was a solid core mechanic that touched every single thief weapon and had many synergies throughout the core traits and skills. That's absolutely true. Thief players already understand stealth attacks, so this allows Malice spending to be an upgrade to an established system rather than inventing an entirely new one, which obviously makes it more understandable and is very much in line with elite specializations. And then finally they say the Deadeye was already leaning toward being a stealth-based character due to its elite skill Shadow Meld and its utility skill Shadow Gust, so we felt that having Malice slot into the stealth attack was a very natural fit. I have to say, personally, I agree with this very much. I suppose it depends what game type you care more about. The vast majority of you guys listening to me right now are going to be more PvE-minded, I would guess. And as PvE-minded people, you might not value the stealth quite so much, especially if all you want to do for your balance discussion is tunnel vision into raid and fractal concepts. But if we think broader, if we think about the actual health of the game, I really like this. So, then they go on to give us more specifics about Rifle, which obviously is the Deadeye's own special weapon. So they say this: with these changes, the iconic Deadeye Malice skill, Death's Judgement, the one I've been talking about in this video so much, is also becoming a stealth attack. So they're shuffling this kit quite heavily. They say this gave us room to make some adjustments to the rest of the Rifle's skills in order to address its somewhat stale gameplay loop. And again, I don't know whether I agree it's got a stale gameplay loop right now, but okay. They say this, that the kneel skill and the silent scope trait have now been changed to allow for more flexible kneeling. We don't know the specifics of that. More flexible kneeling. Does that mean we're going to be able to move a bit more, access kneel a little bit more frequently? I know some people find it clunky, but I've always viewed this as a little bit more of an L2P issue. Like, you play enough Deadeye, you do get used to the kneeling mechanic. But they're saying they're going to increase the flexibility of that. And they say Sniper's cover has been totally reworked into a new defensive skill that fills the slot previously occupied by Death's Judgment. So Sniper's cover being this trait here, by the way, guys, which is the one that means whenever you kneel down, you get stealth. This one here. They say this new skill creates a defensive barrier while kneeling that can combo with other thief abilities. When taken together, these changes help to give each rifle skill a more defined purpose and allow rifle wielders to handle a larger variety of combat situations. So, I think for the Deadeyes out there, you should be very excited about this. If we've seen anything lately, going back to the Mesmer reworks, going back to some of the earlier ones, the devs are still very much in this mindset where they do a big change like this, they err on the side of making it a little OP to reign in afterwards. So it could be that Deadeye's reign supreme for a while here if they nail these updates. These new skills sound extremely potent, and yeah, this sounds like a complete reshuffling of the way that Rifle works. Just basically how you land your big snipe is going to change completely now. They close down the post here without giving too many more hard and fast facts about it, but saying reloading traits. To wrap everything up, let's talk a bit about trait changes. Deadeye traits currently have somewhat conflicting goals. There are traits that encourage waiting for full malice, such as Perfectionist. That would be this trait here. This is minor. All Deadeyes are forced to take this, which gives you tons of boons if you max it out, right? There are ones that encourage you to max it. There are also traits that encourage killing your mark as quickly as possible, such as Be Quick or Be Killed, which is this one here that gives you quickness every time you mark a new person. Probably because the previous guy's dead and it's recharged. So they don't like that. They say, as well as a few esoteric traits that don't quite mesh with any particular style, like peripheral vision. We've touched nearly every single trait in the Deadeye line in order to better define different types of Deadeye playstyles and reduce the conflicts between them. Here's a quick example of a new trait that's aimed at improving the Fire for Effect boon sharing builds while also providing a meaningful damage output. So Fire for Effect, just to be clear, is this one here. It's the massive might generation. It's the 10-man might gen. Whenever you mark a new person or you use one of the new Solon abilities. So this is going to become a new trait called, a new Grandmaster at that, called Premeditation, which gives you 180 concentration, that's boon duration, and it gives you increased strike damage for 1% but for every single boon on you. So that's kind of amazing, by the way. You'll remember that they added some new Deadeye Solon skills specifically for raid encounters recently. One of them was called Explode Plasma that nukes all boons in the game on your entire party all at once. Yeah, the new Grandmaster comboed with that sounds ridiculous. I can't quite tell from the wording whether that means you get 180 concentration for every single boon, which means you just get massive boon duration without ever having to invest into it in gear. That would be nuts. And you might say, well, no, clearly that's just you get 180 concentration and then the other effect afterwards. But the other effect, 1% extra damage per boon, is actually really weak. Other professions that get that, and especially up at a Grandmaster slot, it's more potent than that. It's like 2%, or don't we even see one with 3%? So I don't know exactly what they're doing there. That sounds kind of crazy to me, but I guess we'll see as soon as the update comes through. And then there's so much to speculate about here. All the traits changing. They finally wrap up by saying fire away. We're looking forward to seeing these changes redefine the Deadeye specialization and hope they will sharpen your Deadeye experience. As always, we'll be listening for feedback for these changes and we'll make future adjustments where necessary. Happy hunting. But yeah, it really is a huge upgrade. It's kind of like they've kept the art and the assets and the ideas behind Deadeye, but if all the traits are changing, if its iconic weapon structure is changing, if its means of affecting all the other thief abilities is changing, like it's kind of like how with Weaver, Elementalist got all these new skills for its regular stuff. Deadeye's got a little bit of that here. All these new skills coming into the game. It sounds like it's just a completely different take and reinterpretation on Elite Specialization about half a year after the expansion itself came out. So I really like to see that. I like that the devs, they don't think, oh, it's too late, we'll just work on the next expansion stuff. They are looking back at these. Like I said at the start of the video, I would like to see them do something like this for Renegade. Definitely for Renegade, because there's so many conceptual issues there. And it might be that this is a sign they are doing that for Renegade. They are doing that for them in the other Elite Specializations. Maybe even going back to the Heart of Thorns one. We saw radical changes to Reaper over the past year. And they might be doing that. It's just that Renegade is so broken, this one comes first on the list. I don't know. But yeah, it's a great sign. Everything I hear about balance right now, even if there are minor nitpicks we can make, the trend in such a good direction, a healthy direction, an exciting direction that so much can change with the balance as we go forward. You know, they're not doing minor things, they're doing big things. And yeah, we got that to look forward to with the Underwater update and all the other stuff. Wow, after a dedicated competitive patch, after a big Mesmer rework, after another bonus patch around Christmas, it's pretty cool. So I'll be back on May 8th itself, or just shortly after, with Boots to really dive into this. I'd love to see in the comments what you guys think about this, and particularly your speculation on how the other new Ambush Malice spending skills might be, the new sneak attacks, and what some other traits you think we might actually find pop up. If they've all been touched in some way, who knows, that could be a hell of a lot. There you go, guys. Thanks very much for watching. That's the Deadeye change, and I'll be back very shortly for more good stuff.